Okay, Genesis chapter 14. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Birshka, king of Gomorrah, and a bunch of other guys whose names nobody can pronounce. In other words, a big war started. 4 kings fighting against 5. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. So the one bunch of nations was servants to the other kings, slaves, and they put up with it for 12 years, and finally said, "That's enough. We're not going to serve you anymore." You ever get tired of something in your life? You say, "Stop. That's enough." I remember my dad came to me. He said, "Son, would you pray for me? I've been smoking for 40 years. I would like to quit." I said, "Dad, I'll be glad to pray for you and help you any way I can. I would suggest you keep a record. How many do you smoke a day? If it's 15 a day or 27 a day or 2,000 a day, doesn't matter. Just write it down. And then tomorrow, try to go a little bit less than that. Then the next day, go a little bit less. Just try to set a record. Don't try to stop completely. Some people do that, stop completely. But just break the record every day. Yesterday I smoked 12. I'm going to go 11 today. Okay, great. And then 10. So you slowly wean yourself off. We tried to wean my dog off of dog food. We slowly cut back on the dog food. I got him down to 1 can a week, and he died in the middle of the experiment. I almost had him weaned off completely. That's a joke, Hannah. I didn't really do that. Don't call the animal rights guys. Okay. Anyway, so if you've got something in your life that's bothering you, you say, you know, I really ought to lose a few pounds, or I really ought to quit this habit, or whatever it is, doesn't matter. If you've been serving something for a long time, maybe you ought to look in the mirror and say, you know, it's time we rebel. Let's quit. What was the guy's name in Colorado, in the camp with me there? I walked the track with him every day. I watched him lose 100 pounds in 4 months. He just was determined, I'm going to do this. And he would walk, and I'd walk a couple laps, and we'd talk, great Christian guy. And finally, I'd get tired and go on do something else. He'd just keep on walking. Watched him. One lady told me she lost 250 pounds of ugly fat in 10 minutes. She got a divorce. Oh, but that's another story. Okay, verse 5. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him and smote the other guys, so they had a big war again. Now, if you do indeed decide after 12 years of serving this habit, whatever it is, you want to quit. And so you succeed. You rebel and you win. And then they're probably going to come back the next year and, hey, let's pick this habit back up. Some of them just never leave, okay? You got to just say, stop. Oh, I froze up again here. What is with this? There we go. Steve, when we get time, take a look at this. It always freezes with my mouth open. Lady Di, do not say a single word, okay? And they returned and came to En-Mishpat. Look, if you're reading the Bible and these big names bother you, skip them. Call it Chicago or something else, okay? Pick a new name. If you can't read those names, it doesn't matter. If you really want to go down deep, stay down long, then learn all those names. So, verse 8. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and Zoabim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar, and they joined battle. So they got in a big war with Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and all these other guys. Verse 10. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. And they that remained fled to the mountain. Froze up again. Hang on here. It does keep the audio going, though. Look at that. Mouth partway open. There we go. I think I know why. Verse number 11. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals. And by the way, that's how you spell victuals. Looks like victuals, but no, that's victuals, if you got to be from the south for that. And went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son. Now remember, Abram was not supposed to bring his family with him, but he disobeyed God. Years later, it cost them. They had too many sheep for the ground to handle, and so they had to split up and move on. And now it's costing Lot again. He should not have gone with Abraham. Sometimes we go places we should not go, and we stay places we should not stay, and we do things we should not do, and it ends up costing you. He just got captured. He and his family going to be slaves to the bad guys. Verse 13. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew. I forgot to check, but I think this is the first mention of the word Hebrew in the Bible. Now, I have heard, I don't know that I'm no scholar on this one, but after the flood, Noah's son Shem had Arphaxad, Selah, and Eber. Eber is, I think, where the word Hebrew comes from Eber. So the descendants of Eber, I think, were the Hebrews, which would include the Jews and the Ishmaelites and the Israelites, but I think it's a broader term. Hebrew might be a broader term than just simply Jews, but it kind of has morphed into being just Jews, okay, Hebrew. Okay. So they were confederate, and verse 14, and when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318. This guy's got 318 men able to go to war, born in his house, which I think would mean their parents must have worked for Abram. So he had at least 600 employees. Now he's got 318 children, sons, plus daughters, you would assume an equal number. This Abraham must have 1,000 employees to have 318 he could arm to go to war. He had a large staff. Imagine their staff meetings. And pursued them unto Dan. Now, you need to get a map of Israel in your head a little bit and learn a key few points. Dan is way up here. This is the Jordan, the Sea of Galilee. Down here's the Dead Sea where Abram was. So Abram is going to chase these guys 215 or 20 miles. No, 120 miles up to Dan. All through the Bible you see the phrase Israel from Dan to Beersheba. Well, what does that mean? Well, from Dan to Beersheba, down here. That's like saying the whole United States from Maine to California. Or from, Florida to Seattle, Washington, or something like that. It's the limits of the country. Okay. Now, Don Bradley's a friend of mine in lower Mississippi. And we got a map right here. Okay, way down here in Mississippi, back in the 1950s or 60s, there was a preacher who wanted to build a miniature version of the Holy Land. And he found a piece of property that I think is on the same latitude as Jerusalem. We're pretty close here where we are. Our latitude, if you went around the world, would be right where Israel, we crossed through Israel somewhere, where the 31 degrees north, hang on. And the world is round and it does spin. Okay, let's see. Israel and Alabama, we would be equivalent to, someplace north of Jerusalem, if you follow the latitude lines. Who cares? You engineer guys can tell me exactly where we would be, and I would know for a minute and then forget it, right? Okay. But anyway, he found this perfect chunk of property here in Loosedale, Mississippi. And he wanted to develop a miniature version of the Holy Land. So he said, okay, Israel's about 150 miles tall, from here to here. I'm going to make a miniature version 150 yards, where every yard equals a mile. So he took this property and started building miniature cities, the city of Jerusalem, out of concrete blocks. You were there for a couple days, weren't you?
Yeah.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, they've been building it since, what, 60s or?
1960.
1960 they started. Oh, here it is. Palestine Gardens, 1960. And they've always constantly improving it. Each city is a little city, miniature city made out of concrete blocks and stuff like that, cinder blocks. So you can go actually see where Jesus walked. You can tour the Holy Land, and instead of having to walk 150 miles, you only got to walk 150 yards. And you can see the little Jordan River and the Sea of Galilee and all that stuff. It's really cool. If you want to go visit it, PalestineGardens.org. How he's done all this on the shoestring budget he's on. I mean, it's amazing. They live on nothing, don't they? Once in a while, people donate to their ministry, so if you want to help, that'd be great. Call Don Bradley. Let me get his number back up there. If you want to get a hold of him, PalestineGardens.org, and say, if you're ever driving across southern Mississippi, stop and see it, because there's not much else to see across southern Mississippi. But it's pretty cool to see the little miniature version of Israel they've done. I think some people see the word Palestine and get scared off like it's Palestinian. No, it's not. It's not Palestinian. Is he what denomination is he? Don't remember if he said. I talked to him today. He just called me. I said, Don, I want to mention you tonight. So he said, that'd be great, brother. Anyway, verse 15. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them. You said, that's not fair to go fight at night. Look, in warfare, anything's fair. There are no rules when it comes to fighting the enemy. And you ought to be that way with sin in your life. Get it out. He divided up by night, and he smote them and pursued them to Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. Well, now he's going to chase them another 25 miles from Dan up here over to Hobah, which is another 25 miles. And look, when you're walking carrying your armor, 25 miles is a long ways. 318 guys, they've already gone 120 miles, chased them all the way to here. Now they're going to chase them another 25 miles over to there. And he brought back all the goods, and brought also back again his brother Lot. Oh, by the way, Damascus, it's prophesied. I should have put these verses in here. It's in Isaiah someplace. It says, Damascus shall be a ruinous heap. Google Damascus. It's one of the oldest cities in the world, maybe the oldest city in the world. And when the prophet said, this place is going to be a ruinous heap, Google it. The fighting's been going on over there. They're blowing up the whole city. It's gone from 2 million population down to whatever's left, and it's a giant pile of rubble. It is a ruinous heap, isn't it? I Googled it today, and I forgot to cut and paste the pictures for tonight. Sorry about that, but just Google Damascus today. You'll be shocked. That's another story. Okay. And he brought back all the goods, and brought also again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. So they chased the guys 25. Now they got to bring everybody back, all these people that were taken captive and hauled off 140 miles. Now you got to walk back 140 miles. This whole thing cost Lot a lot. Cost Lot a bunch. It cost him dearly. How's that? When you are not in the center of God's will, it'll cost you sometimes more than you want to pay. Many people get out of God's will and are just amazed at how much it costs them. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer and of the kings that were with him in the valley of Shavah. Anyway, verse 18. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. Now, who on earth is Melchizedek? This is an extremely interesting character, mentioned a bunch of times in the Bible. And brought forth bread and wine. He was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And he blessed, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he, that would be Abraham, gave him, that would be Melchizedek, tithes. Tithe, what is that? Gave him tithes of all. Who is Melchizedek? And what exactly is a tithe? Well, tithe means 10%, 1/10, the tithe. God called me today. Who's supposed to tithe and who are we supposed to tithe to and what's the rules on tithing? Okay, we'll talk about that next time. We'll talk about Melchizedek. Who on earth is Melchizedek? Here he is in Psalm 110. The Lord has sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Mentioned in Hebrews chapter 5, Hebrews chapter 6, Hebrews chapter 7 has a whole chapter about this guy. Who is this Melchizedek guy? Talk about him next time. Anyway, if you have got something in your life that you need to get rid of, maybe it's time you have a rebellion. And say, you know, I'm sick and tired of this habit or this problem or whatever. And say, I've been a slave to this for years. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Stop. Like the guy in Peoria, Illinois, that was drinking, always drinking. Loved beer. And one time he's out drinking his beer, driving his truck, and the guy in front of him stopped, and he didn't see it in time, hit the car in front of him, slammed his head forward, and the beer can got caught between his head and the steering wheel. Cut off all of his lips, pounded out all of his teeth, and drove the beer can into his face. They took him to the hospital. What's the doctor supposed to do with this? Okay, they took skin from his butt and made new lips for him. I am dead serious. How'd you ladies like to kiss that guy every day? Hello, honey. Well, I think he learned his lesson. You know, I really ought to get rid of this habit. This is costing me a bunch. It costs me way more than I want to pay. So if you got something in your life, learn a simple lesson. from Abraham and Lot and these guys and say, okay, Lord, that's enough. Let's you and me have a talk. Better yet, Lord, you talk, I'll listen. Say, let's fix this. We've all got these things in our life, okay? All of the sin that does so easily beset us. We've all got them. And let's just say, okay, Lord, it's time. I've been a slave long enough. Let's quit.